My name is Darren, and I'm going to tell you how they celebrate Christmas in New Zealand.
Hi, my name's Gina, and I'm going to tell you why the nudist colonies have it right.
Hi, my name is Richard, and I'm going to tell you about a conversation that happened 13 years ago between five guys about loose meat juices.
What does all this have to do with our topic 5? Find out in this episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to another episode of History Bluffs. It's where truth is stranger than fiction. And now I want to welcome to the show, it's your host, it's Chris.
Hello, welcome back everyone. Welcome to another episode of History Bluffs. Welcome to our viewers watching us on YouTube and Twitch, etc. And welcome to those who are watching us after the show. We have a fantastic show scheduled for you tonight. That is our panel here over on the side, our 3 armchair historians. And let's get right to it. Let's bring out our first historian, Darren. Hello, welcome back, Darren.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. Despite having COVID, I'm not dead. So that's good.
You sound good. You sound good.
I was about to boo, but then he said, I'm not dead.
And as we can all see, I lived to the age of 55.
Yeah,
Oh.
right. Well done.
It was in doubt last show, but
Well done. The topic for tonight's show is 5, the word 5.
Oh.
For me, 5, I have 5 older siblings. So what is a personal connection to the word 5 for you, Darren?
Other than being 55 this year,
Yeah.
I do remember like one of my first dates I went on in high school is I took a girl to see Short Circuit, which was about Johnny 5, the robot, right?
Johnny number 5.
5 is
no
alive.
way.
Yeah.
That part I can believe, but the other part is a bluff that you had a date.
We're going with that. Welcome, Gina. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. And Gina, I have the same question for you. What's a personal connection for you to the number 5?
Well, you probably know this. You and I have a very similar connection because I have 5 brothers, and so you have 5 siblings. You're the only boy, or
I'm the youngest. No, we have 5 boys. There's 1 girl, but I'm the youngest.
there's one. Okay, so we're okay. I couldn't remember how it went, and so so that's my connection to 5, and they're a hoot. So I got to tell you
right.
that.
Nicely done. And Richard, welcome back. Richard is our 3rd historian for this week. Richard, what is a personal connection to the number 5 for you?
I have 5 fingers.
All right. Well done. Well done indeed. Yes. So each of us have a connection to the story. Each of us 5. And we're going to use that word as Adam, our tech. Let's give it up for Adam, our wonderful tech extraordinaire.
I appreciate it. Hey, I'm here to help, Chris.
All right. Well, Adam, you do more than we can express in words. So we're super appreciative of everything you do. And you're going to hear, for those of you listening, you're going to hear all of our sound effects. And for those of you watching, you see all of our graphics. That is all controlled by Adam. And he's the one that makes the show go. So with that being said, let's just jump right in, shall we? Adam, if you don't mind, please share the rules card and I'll explain how the show works.
Let's do it. This is a game show, Chris. Not just any game show, but one with rules. So here's the rules card, and for those listening at home and not watching, Chris will read them.
Well, that is correct, Adam. Our show is inspired by a topic. Tonight's topic is the word number 5. It's just 5, the word 5. And we have 3 armchair historians that are going to regale us with stories inspired by the word 5. 2 of our historians are going to be telling true stories. Those true stories are going to be factual. In the premise is factual, and everything that they're going to tell us are actual real stories. The bluff, we have 1 of our 3 historians who is bluffing. That bluff is going to be telling us a fictional story. There may be some truth in their story. It might be about a real place, or it might involve a real person. We might hear real people throughout the course of their story. But the premise of their story, the overall story, is a bluff. We ask the audience not to help in terms of please don't debunk any of our stories in the middle of the show. We have 3 rounds. Each round is successively shorter. The first round is 75 seconds. The second round is 60 seconds. And the third round is 45 seconds. After that third round, we will hear from each historian who they think is the bluff, and we'll have an opportunity for the audience to tell us who they believe is the bluff. So with that being said, let's get to it, shall we? Adam, let's start round number 1.
Let's get it. Let's go to round number 1.
All right, we are joining us in round number 1. It's
Here
going to be the Round Tracker 9000. It's going to pop up above my head on screen any moment. There it is. And it's got 3 dots for each of our historians in each of the 3 rounds. And as each of those 3 dots in each particular round is filled in, that's where we will know where we are in the course of the show. So let's get that first dot filled in. I'm going to jump over to Darren. Darren, please begin. You have 75 seconds for round 1. When you hear the boom and you see the sundial, the floor is yours.
So other than Whamageddon and Last Christmas, there's no more annoying Christmas song than the 12 Days of Christmas. It's like the Energizer Bunny, it just keeps going and going and going. But everybody knows that song, so it's the best song to parody. And according to Wikipedia, it's been parodied and released on album or in TV show or something at least 30 times. And so here's some of my favorites. Back in 1951, a lady named Faye McKay, who opened for Liberace, did a version that was just all drinks. It starts with 12 dry martinis, goes through 9 margaritas, 5 dry Rob Roys. Okay. A little more family friendly. Sears did a Winnie the Pooh version where all the verses end in a honey pot in a hollow tree, which is cute, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, Alvin and the Chipmunks did it. John Denver and the Muppets. In fact, the Muppets recorded it 5 different times. But the craziest one of all, which is what my story is about, was written and recorded in 1981 in New Zealand, and it's called a Pukeko in a Ponga Tree. And it was released on cassette. It comes with a book, like a children's book, and it's now a holiday classic in New Zealand.
Well done, Darren. All right, let's jump right to our historian to get a couple of get some feedback on what Darren laid out as his opening round. Gina.
So first of all, A+ for all the cutie patootie little references there, whether you're bluffing or not. Adorable. Also, did anybody else at home want there to be 5 piles of poo? Like nobody, just me. Because it was about poo, but they didn't say what kind. So nice. I loved all of this. I want it so to be true, but it's like there are only 3 of us, so one of the stories is not. So but plausible so far, very fun. For fun factor, 100% plausible, pretty good. I reserve the right to vote differently later.
All right, plausible, fun but plausible, reserving the right to pass judgment later on. Sounds like some of the dates I've been on. Richard, what do you think of Darren's stories, Richard?
I believe it. It's just no, I do. He was talking about kickapoo. Was it kickapoo?
Pukeko.
What?
Pukeko.
Oh,
a Pukeko in a Ponga Tree.
Pukeko.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, who would make that up?
Somebody on a show that is trying to bluff you, Richard.
It's just so detailed. It's like. I mean, I would think that if he made that up, then Darren is the most amazing linguist in the world. Because a Pokanko, a Poopoo. What was it again?
Pukeko.
Pukeko and a
Okay.
Ponga. So I will do this.
Pukeko and a Ponga Tree.
I'm sorry. I got to say this. Bless you.
I do have COVID.
Is that in the southern way or in the?
No.
It's
just that one word right there makes me believe that it's a real story.
Wow.
Yes. All right.
So I don't know. I don't know if he's in the lead, but he's in the lead right now.
Well, duly noted. We got to move on to our next historian, Gina. Let's move to Gina and hear you give us your opening round.
Okay.
There it is. Go.
Okay. So for the longest time, everybody thought that there were only five senses: your taste, your hearing, your sight, and the other two. So, but they have since found in 2016 through MRIs that are open, where they can actually have somebody's brain, they can stimulate it, and they can see colors and patterns that come up based on the receptions, that the human beings actually have 18 more senses than we originally thought. One of which is called equilibrioception. That's your sense of balance. One is called chronoception, which is your sense of how time passes. But the one that we're going to talk about tonight is called proprioception, which some people actually even call your sixth sense, because it is how your body relates to things in your area, how your body tells how close or how far you are from things and how they sense that sort of thing. They call that your sixth sense, and they and all of the receptors for that primarily are in your skin, especially on the tops and the bottoms of your hands and the tops and the bottoms of your feet, but it is actually all over your entire body. So what happens is when you are when you are kind of robbed of one of your other senses, the proprioception becomes higher and more engaged, and you're able to have a better feel for where you are in relation to other things. I will tell you more about that in the second round and how it relates to clothing.
All right. Well, thank you, Gina, for that. Richard, let's hear from you. What do you think of Gina's story that there are 18 more senses? Is gullibility one of the 18 other senses?
For me, yes. I mean,
Well, if it is, I believe her. Then I must have that sense, because first of all, propo what?
Pukeko.
it's Pukeko. Yeah.
Proprioceptive. If she isn't a linguist,
She is the
I
best
believe
linguist
her.
in the world.
The details are good. Look, guys, I'm only on the show once a year, and you guys have I believe you.
Okay. All right. Darren, what do you think of Gina's story?
Everybody knows the sixth sense is the sense of dead people.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So,
Was that
right.
little guy Macaulay Culkin or the other one?
The other one.
oh, no, not that one.
Not that one.
Right.
Yeah, different. Yeah.
No, it was Haley Joe Osment, I believe.
Yes,
Wow.
that one. Okay.
Wow.
Um,
Somebody knows
so,
there.
all right.
Somebody
we
pulled
have
that out
heard
of his 5 piles of poo.
we have, yeah, exactly. We have heard from Darren. We have heard from Gina. That leaves one dot on our Round Tracker 9000 unfilled. That means we have to go to Richard for his opening story. Richard, when you hear the bong, you have 75 seconds.
All right. You should know that this is an unusual story, because this story is a chat thread. Or is it? It might be made up. It might be real. Reddit, 13 years ago, posted by You Really? 5 Guys cook told me they flip and then they press on the burgers. Why do Food Network and other authoritative resources say never to press because you lose the juices? This garnered 217 comments. Let's go down the line and down the thread. Why is it? Because 5 Guys cooks on a grill rather than a grill. A griddle on a griddle rather than a grill. We go down 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th response by Murdoch 101. Medium well, don't go to Canada for burgers. Now we go 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Meat deleted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Kickapoo Pony says it's more like in between of medium rare if I had to describe it myself.
And it's more like well done on the burger as well done in getting your story in time. So let's see here. Gina, what did you think?
I just have a question. Richard? Richard Paul, did you not only take the suggestion of 5 and make up potentially a story about 5 guys, but did you then also just give us every 5th comment? Because that's like layered, and I believe you.
All right. There's a lot of believing going on left and
That's
right.
not a linguist, that's a numerologist, but
A numerist.
well done. Numerous, thank you.
I don't know. I made that up.
Well played. Good job, Adam. That bluffed me. I don't care.
Darren, are you going to believe?
I want to say I believe you, like you've said to both of us, especially with that user in there that was something like you Pikachu or something. Who would make that up?
Deleted.
Kickapoo ponies. They would make that up.
And you really? I mean, come on.
You really?
Those are genuine Reddit usernames if I've ever heard one.
Those are very plausible Reddit usernames. And Richard also, utilized the very rare technique of a possible confession right out of the gate. That could be a distraction technique trying to throw us off. Well, let's find out more as we move on to round number 2.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. It's time. We're going to round number 2. And here we are.
We are back from our commercial break. Round number 2 is going to begin with our second historian. Gene, I'm going to start with you in this round.
Okay.
So
All
remember
right.
now the time is reduced down to 60
Oh,
seconds.
okay. I'll go faster.
All right.
Okay, so they tested this theory among animals before they tested humans, and they put a snake in a vacuum so that it couldn't feel where it was or what have you. And what it did was it attacked itself because it didn't have any proprioception or relationship to the outside. It just thought there was another animal in there and began to attack it. The cats have whiskers that are as wide as their body, and if they that helps them sense whether they can go into certain areas. If you cut the whiskers, which some scientists did, then they will actually go into something and get stuck. So they tested humans as well. And the question that they posed was, do humans get affected by things being on their skin? If their skin is so sensitive to how they relate to space and time, what do clothes then do to or for or about the proprioception? I can't say that word, but that's the word. So at the end of the day, they were able to do some experiments, and they were able to actually find out that clothes did indeed affect some people, both in an exciting way or an inhibited way, by having certain types of clothing on. And I'll get to the conclusion of that in the last round.
All right. I just thank you, Gina, for opening round number 2. I'd like to remind our viewers and our listeners, don't take the inability to pronounce words as any way to detract from the person's story. Just saying.
Thank you, Chris.
And also, just on a technical note, the members of the cast and the producers of History Bluffs in no way condone animal testing whatsoever.
No, I would never.
Darren, what did you think of Gina's story, Darren?
I don't condone animal testing either, but as she was reading the story, she jumped from cutting the whiskers off cats to talking about people. And I just had this vision in my head of scientists testing cutting the beards of hipsters and seeing if they would go through things. And I fully condone that.
You're not gonna. I'm not kidding. That is literally what I tried to find when I was searching, because
I believe you.
It would make me
Cutting the
so
whiskers
happy.
of hipsters. That's cutting the whiskers. I will say, for those of you watching, you can see my hair is actually up in a ponytail, but my hair is kind of wild these days. And I will say this: every once in a while, I do surprise myself when I see the hair right here out of the corner of my eye. And
Do you attack it?
I don't attack it. But Richard, what do you think of Gina's story?
I hate to be argumentative now,
Here it comes.
but I have to say I actually believe Gina more than Darren believes Gina. So that's what I have more belief in her story, way more belief than Darren does. I see the doubt in his eyes.
Okay.
And the fact that he would comment on any topic or any part of the she gave details, she gave facts, she gave measurements. So I believe her more than Darren does.
All right. Well,
Who's bluffing in belief is Darren.
here's the thing, Richard. We need to right now find out if you're the one bluffing or believing your own story, because you're next. So we want to hear your round 2. You have 60 seconds for this second round. So will you believe yourself? That's the question.
We take you back to a Reddit thread from 13 years ago about how to properly prepare a Five Guys burger. From hump rind. There are many, many ways to cook a burger. This comment will get as many upvotes as downvotes, because when you embrace one side, you discredit the other side. To be clear, both sides are right in their own element, but they are from different schools. So the Smashers will tell you they provide a good crust. They are right. There is a burger chain that just showed up in my town called Smash Burger. This happened 13 years ago. They unapologetically say they smash in the tile, and then five guys, Fuddruckers, sorry, in and out, fuck ruck, in and fucking out, in and out. They all proudly smash. Smashing gives a great crust.
A great crust. Darren, what's your take on? You still believe Richard? What's your take?
I do believe him because Adam and I and our friend Steve Grogan have a regular outing to discover all of the burgers in the Orlando area. And I can say that a smashed burger does have a good crust. Mm-hmm. This is a technically accurate Reddit thread, which is exceedingly rare.
That's true. And Gina, some burgers are exceedingly rare. I do give Richard props for his alliteration with properly prepare. What do you think, Gina, of Richard's story?
Okay, so Richard is stone cold believing Darren and I. Richard is using phrases like Fuddruckers went in and out and in and out and in and out. So smashing is the actual, like, that's his factoid right there. And he's taking his information from a Reddit thread. So I'm just saying, I will reserve my right to vote for later, but I'm just adding up the pieces right now. And my whatever perception that sense is starting to my bluffometer, my bluffoception. Is starting to go.
Your bluffoception. Well, Adam, if we look at the round
Gina.
9,000, we see that 2 of the 3 dots above my head in round 2
They
are.
are.
That we have to come back to Darren and hear his second round. So, Darren, you have 60 seconds for your round 2 story, and the floor is yours.
All right. So, a pukeko in a ponga tree was written by Sir Kingi Ahaka, who was knighted by Queen Elizabeth in 1970 and again in 1989 for his services to New Zealand. A Maori native born in New Zealand, Kingi worked as an interpreter. He was an ordained Anglican minister, and later he was a broadcaster for the New Zealand Broadcasting Corporation. He was heavily involved in Polynesian cultural activities, and in the 60s, he participated in Polynesian cultural competitions, which led to recording records of native songs of New Zealand. Now, not a lot is written about his inspiration, but it seems natural for him to want to meld his traditions of his native land with what he learned later in life as a minister. And so when he wrote his own lyrics to the famous Christmas tune, he got rid of all the European things like French hens, calling birds, and maids a-milking, and he replaced them with things that would be familiar to his native New Zealanders. Oh, and yes, I'm going to give you the whole song in the next section.
Thank goodness for that. I'm sure that was just one of the questions that our historians were wondering. But let's hear what they have. Gina, what's your take on Darren's second round?
I don't have a take. That was literally my only question. I'm ready to go. Can't wait.
All right. Well, hold that thought for the third round, and you'll hear it in the third round. Richard, what do you think of Darren's second round story?
His story is actually so good. Now he has me doubting Gina's story. I believe it because of the dates. He gave dates and times. Although one question I do have. So King, what's his name? King.
Kahiki.
Yeah.
Kingi Ihaka.
Kingi Ihaka. Okay. So you said that he got knighted?
Knighted. An OBE.
Twice. He got knighted twice.
Yeah.
That's okay, y'all. Who?
I mean,
like
he's what's called a bachelor knight.
But Richard, I would actually argue that would make this more of a bluff, because once you've done it, like, you can't get it again. You already got it.
Well, no. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of making me going. Well,
Oh, it's like the chicken pox.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And well.
And it goes right. It goes right back to what Darren just said. He's shingle.
And he just turned 55, so he can get the shots for it. Hey, Richard, could I ask you a question? Are you still thinking that Darren still believes me?
We'll find out in round 3, Gina, because we're about to go to round number 3. Adam, take us there.
Here we go. Now that's a round.
That is a round. We are back for round number 3. That means that we now have 45 seconds for each historian to wrap up their story.
That is not a lot of time.
That is not a lot of time. So we have heard Darren start a round. We've heard Gina start a round. So I'm going to go to Richard. And Richard, I'm going to ask you to take the opening slot of round 3. You have 45 seconds to complete your story. The floor is yours.
It was 13 years ago on a Reddit thread. They were discussing how do you make the perfect burger at Five Guys. Well, Treebox said 13 years ago on a Reddit thread, my theory would be that on a flame grill, when you press a piece of meat, it makes the fat squeeze out. Is that true? When the fat falls into the grill, it ignites and creates larger flames. Is that true? Which in turn slightly chars the meat every time and adds flavor and texture for a flame grilled effect. I ask you, even if he does this regularly on a barbecue grill, is it true?
Well, let's find out what Darren thinks. Darren, do you think it's true? Do you think it's true?
I don't know. I'm suddenly wanting to go out and light up my grill and find out.
Exactly.
I mean, he's ignited, no pun intended, the scientist in me.
Hello.
Well done.
Yeah.
Gina, what about you? What do you think of Richard's story?
Well, I was with him until he stopped doing every fifth person, and then I'm like, now I'm on the fence. Like it definitely affected me. I'm just
All
saying.
right. Well, one subtle thing that he's mentioned the great linguists that we have here, but the auditory experts in our audience might capture that if you go back and listen to the tape of the show, he actually emphasized every fifth syllable in that round. So just kudos to Richard for that.
So it's like a third level. Wow.
That's right. Darren,
Chris, you didn't ask if I believed me.
we'll ask that after this round. Darren, I'm going to come to you, and you have 45 seconds to complete your story of Pukeko in a Punga tree, which I can't stop saying in my head now. So the story floor is yours.
Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
Buckle up, boys and girls. Here we go. On the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 12 Pio Pio swinging, 11 haka lessons, 10 juicy fish heads, 9 sacks of peepees. Calm down, those are clams.
Whoa.
8 plants of puha, which is just a weird plant. 7 eels a swimming, 6 pois a twirling, 5 big fat pigs, 4 hoo-hoo grubs, 3 flax kits, 2 kumara, and a pukeko in a ponga tree.
Yes.
And if that doesn't sound like Christmas to you, all I got to say to you is you're not from New Zealand, because it's a real New Zealand Christmas carol.
That's a New Zealand Christmas carol. All right. Well, Gina, in a couple of seconds, we're going to find out if with all his mentions of poo-poos and hoo-has, or peepees, and hoo-has, you two are in cahoots with your nudity story. So, but what did you think of Darren's conclusion of the Pukeko in a Ponga tree?
Well, I just have questions. So my clarifying question would be, for the juicy fish heads, do they press it on the grill, or do they, how does that work? Because they might that,
believe it or not, there's a lot of debate on Reddit about that.
That makes
from when,
sense.
Darren? From how many years ago?
Going back a ways, probably 13.
The one who might know is Richard. Richard, what do you think of Darren's story conclusion there?
Darren is telling the truth.
Ooh, bold.
Okay.
Well, I actually worked. I worked in one time with in a Polynesian show, and many of the things that he said are point accurate. And if he did the research to just come up with a lie, well, then National Institutes of Health, you have missed your researcher.
All right.
There it is.
Well, Adam, we do have now 2 completed in round 3. So that leaves one person to finish their story, and that means Gina is going to come out to the main square. Gina, you're going to hear the boom when that happens. You have 45 seconds to conclude your story.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, once you put clothes on, that either gives somebody a sensation of a good feeling or a bad feeling. So, those people who don't enjoy having clothes on and prefer to be nude, that is usually because their body and their mind is telling them to do so, and vice versa. So, some people, those compression things that people love so much, part of the reason that people are eased by those is because they appreciate the compression, because their proprioception is a little bit different than other people. So, some people have more sensors and some people don't. The interesting thing is that Columbia University partnered with Mark Jacob, who is a fashion designer, to create what is called the textile directory. And what that is that allows designers to know which kinds of materials will be soothing for people and which kinds will allow people to breathe so they can use their proprioception accordingly. The end.
Okay. Let's see. Darren, was that story soothing to your believability sensor?
Well, if I've
Right.
understood the summary, Gina's saying there is a sixth sense, and it's a fashion sense. And it's
I
been,
didn't hear it. That's good. I
Hey,
should have put that. Can I
that's
use that next time?
Amazing.
if you tell the same story next time, go ahead and use
Yeah.
it.
Thank
We'll
you.
re-edit the show, Gina, and have that come out of your mouth. There you go.
Very good.
Richard, what did you think of Gina's conclusion?
I believe Gina.
Wait.
Okay.
Are you keeping track of that, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
Clearly, Richard thinks I'm the bluff in this show. So
You might
okay. Well, we have now heard all three stories for all three historians in all three rounds. We've heard comments. Yes, we've heard comments from everyone. Now it is time of the show. It's the time of the show where we have to figure out really in depth who do we believe. Richard, we know believes everyone, and who do we not? Who do we think might be the bluff? So I'll come around one more time around the horn, and let's hear your some rationale or other questions, and let's hear a declaration of who you believe might be the bluff. I'm going to start in the order we went in the top of the show, and Darren, I'm going to go with you first.
All right. Well, as much as I want to believe Richard, because what he said is just so plausible about something that would happen on Reddit. I somehow have this feeling that he's actually just taken like an archive thread about the red and gold dress thing and just changed it to be hamburgers.
Okay. So you're saying that you think Richard's the bluff?
It's like he talked about mine earlier. His is too good to be true.
Yeah.
I believe him so much that he's lying.
He's gone
All right,
around
we have
through.
an accusation that's pretty
Yeah.
fluffy. Gina, what do you think?
This is hard because Darren had so many linguistic things that were beautiful and yes, did tie the story. And then Richard just read a thread. And like, both are very great tactics. But I will say that Darren has used the alliteration and the pronunciation and some really fancy words before, and it's usually a true story, which leads me to believe maybe he's tricking us now. So this is so hard, but I'm going to go with Darren. I'm going to vote
Okay.
Darren.
So we have an accusation for Darren. We have an accusation for Richard. But Gina, you're saying that Darren said it and Richard read it. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, snap.
Okay. And now, Richard, we have an accusation by Darren against you as the bluff. We have an accusation from Gina against Darren as the bluff. Who do you think is
Oh,
the bluff?
yeah.
I'll give you a hint. It's not me and it's not Adam. I know that for sure.
It's true.
Who's the bluff?
The bluff. The bluff.
Yeah.
The bluff is
Dun, dun, dun.
Gina.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. Well, now that means that we have an accusation for each of our historians. So someone is correct. I don't know who, because I don't know who the bluff is. I'm going to hand things over now to Adam. And Adam, would you please identify for us who is tonight's bluff?
You know I will, Chris. All right, we've got our bluff or buff lined up here. Was your bluff tonight? It could have been Darren. It could have been Gina. Or it could have been Richard. I know the truth, and I shall reveal it. Your bluff. This whole show, it was Gina!
I always get caught. I always get caught.
I thought it
I
was
don't know
well
what
played.
that says about me, though. I mean, Richard believed me, so that was good. But
Yeah. Well,
No, I believed you.
no, but he
No,
believed
no,
me ultimately. Yeah.
you know,
I
think
changed it. I changed it at the end.
you know what I think it says is that you're such a truthful person that it's easy to tell when you're lying. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh,
I
well,
just,
It could be good and bad.
I don't know.
But interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed our show inspired by the word five. I'd like to once again thank Darren, Gina, and Richard for participating as our historians this week. And once again, thank Adam for being in charge of all of our tech and running the show and our sounds and sound effects and all our visuals. So thank you again to Adam. And Adam, I'm going to hand it back off to you. If you don't mind, take us away in here. Let people hear how they could find us.
You got it. We're here every week. Thank you for tuning in. You can catch us on YouTube and Twitch and where you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.